So the energy audit criteria, as far as it is discussed, it has many components as listed in your screen. So the criteria which are to be taken into consideration are the audit objective, audit types, audit methodology, staff involvement, site or utility boundary, timeline, line, reporting requirements, etc., etc. So we will briefly discuss these things. First is the audit objective. So as we have discussed in the last class also, that the company or the industry which is undergoing the audit should have the clear idea about the objective which is being desired. It could be the cost saving or testing the efficiency of the existing energy management plan. It could be either, or it could be some other objective which is not including in this. Okay. Uh, Second is the audit type, which type of the audit they would like to undertake from the agency. With that agency can be, or the team, that could be in-house or the externally hired agency, government or private. So the audit type can be walkthrough audit, which is being discussed, which was discussed in the last class also, that it is the type of the audit in which no detailed measurement is taken and time required is less, and as far as financial undertaking is considered, so it is calculated on the basis of simple payback period. Second is the detailed or the diagnostic audit, in which the measurements are done from the machines or from the sites, from the using different measuring instruments, and data is recorded based on which the analysis is done. Third is the audit methodology and standards. So in the audit methodology, it could include the process which is being involved, the sequence which is to be followed, the precision which is required, the level of analysis which is to be done in this. So that is under this audit methodology. And the standards which are to be undertaken. For example, if it is a Indian company, it could be the testing based on the benchmarks, or it could be the best in the industries, or based on some ISO standards, that ISO standard is to be maintained, or it could be any world standard, or it could be the testing and verifying the specifications which are given on the plate of the machines by the company. For example, if any DC machine is there, DC motor is there, or DC generator is there, and some rated current is mentioned there, or rated voltage is mentioned there, so the audit team can measure that whether those specifications are met or not. Okay. Staff involvement could be internal or external. We will be discussing this in the next topic as well. So site or the utility boundary. So the plant which is being undertaken could have many departments, or you can say many products which are being manufactured. And you might say that, okay, the product 2 and 3 involves the machines which are of low rating, so energy consumption is also less, so we will focus more on the product 1, which is involving bigger machines. For example, you can say if there is any electrical fuse gear company which is manufacturing HRC fuses, MCB, RCCB, etc., and the main focus is on MCB and not on the RCCB and HRC fuse, so that utility boundaries are already declared to the agencies that this is your focus area. Next is the timeline. For example, if the time given to the agency is 3 months, then a different procedure is to be followed. If the time given is 6 months, then different, and so on. Okay. And the reporting requirements, that whom is to be reported, whether it is the work manager or it is the some director or CEO of the manufacturing plant, and so on. After all this audit is done, whom that audit report is to be submitted. So in the second part, it is the defining the audit scope. So this audit scope considers different resources, for example, staff, timeline, audit boundaries, as discussed this. So based on this, the scope is decided that how much analysis is to be done. For example, if the industry is telling, okay, we can afford only 3 auditors from your side, or 4 auditors, or 3 months, so then the agency will decide that what should be our level of analysis. Okay. How much precision is required, how much saving is required. So based on that, the expected results are followed, and also the budgets of the energy audit. For example, if the objective of the audit is cost saving, and the industry is telling, okay, we want the saving of say 1 lakh rupees per month. If you can assume that if the industry is having the electricity bill of 3 lakhs per month and they require the saving of 1 lakh. Okay, so what saving they required and what investment they are doing on the energy audit, paying them or hiring them. So what is the cost benefit analysis budget, that is also comes under the this audit scope. So to help these agencies and also these industries, different countries have developed different tools. For example, the US has developed this quick PEP. This is the online software tools which help industries and plants to analyze themselves that what is the how the plant energy is being purchased and how it is being consumed, how quickly it is being consumed, and what are the cost saving opportunities available for them. Next is the selection of the audit team. So the selection of the audit team, it although it is a tricky issue, it is a tricky issue because there are two possibilities. Either the person or the industry or the director of the industry can hire the internal team or external agencies. So if both are having advantages and disadvantages, we will take one by one. For example, if we are taking the advantage of hiring the internal team, for example, if any work manager is being hired and is given the responsibility, and he is free to select his team 3 4 members, so he can select some electrical person and for electrical energy audit, and some mechanical person or chemical person for thermal energy audit, and some other technicians of different departments, or supervisors of different departments, which can guide them about the number of machines which are being installed and used, and what rating they have, and so on. So the advantage is that, first of all, this internal manager, works manager, will be having the overview of the plant himself because he is working there. So no initial walkthrough audit is required for him. Secondly, for example, you can say he is working for 8 hours a day and he is being assigned, okay, you are required to work 3 hours for energy audit and rest as usual. So when the time is same in the his working hours, he might not get extra paid for this responsibility. So it can be considered as a cost saving measure. Okay, so this is the advantage. But what are the disadvantage? Disadvantage can be that works manager, maybe he is a, mechanical engineer or he must have done some MBA, but he is not the qualified energy auditor. So his way of representation of the report may not be professional. He may not use the updated softwares because he is not having them. Okay, and what else disadvantage is that since he is working there, so he may sometimes ignore the shortcomings of the departments or the persons with whom he is having good terms. He may ignore them. Okay, so you can say that the report will be submit which will be submitted will be a partially report. It is not an impartial report. So this is the disadvantage. And if we are having hiring the external agencies, so that external agencies can have the different electrical audit person, thermal energy person, audit person, and auditors can be the selected, which are selected, it should be from the government or non-government or other authorized agencies. So they are qualified people. This is one advantage. Second, they will be using the good softwares for measurements, and that measuring tools which are there, which they are using, would be calibrated enough, updated enough. Okay, so they may be analog as well as digital. So these are the advantages, and the report submitted will also be impartial. But what is the disadvantage? The disadvantage is that those person will consume more time. They will inquire more. They will are required to have firstly walk through audit, then they can go for the diagnostic area, and also they will be charging some money from the industry. So it is not economical. Okay, so these are the advantages and disadvantages of the selecting the energy audit team. So they are selected based on the consultation with the division managers of the plants. Okay, so then is the making the audit plan. So while making the audit plan, the strategies and procedures are to be worked out. So what is the strategy? Strategy is the planning which is done before actually executing the task. Okay, so that may result in a success, or it may be some little success as well. So the good plan is to make a strategy as well as tactics. Okay, so we should also know what the tactics is. So, so a strategy and a procedure is to be designed while making an audit plan. So the auditors check the consistency and the completeness of the audit process, that nothing is neglected and all the scope of the audit is met, timeline is met, the elements or the machines which are of higher rating or plants which are of higher rating are given the high priority, and responsibility of each team member is designed, and a format is given to each, so that based on those format the measurements which are done, that can be uh, entered on it. So a checklist is prepared. So in this checklist the steps which are to be taken in the energy audit are to be recorded, data which should be collected, because as and when the energy audit is being carried out, so the present data is recorded but the past data is to be collected. Okay, for example, for we are collecting the data of uh, past many years. Okay, so that is to be collected, and parameters are to be decided, major equipments are to be studied more. Okay, so these are the major checklists which are to be taken. Now we will move to the unit 2, which is the survey. So this also comes under the energy audit preparation. So conducting the initial walkthrough audit. So this we have discussed. So here, as we are conducting the walkthrough audit, so we just record at what is to be measured while we are conducting the detail or the diagnostic auditing. This initial walkthrough audit visit. So this audit team can meet the managers to get the overview of the area which is to be evaluated. So now the collecting the energy bills. So when we are talking of the energy bills, we are primarily concentrated on the electricity energy bills, but we also collect the energy bills and the invoices of the fuels, because fuels, these can be the petrol, diesel which is used, or it can be any lubricant which is used for maintenance which is costing. So this is to be taken. Monthly production data of 2 3 years are to be taken so that the estimate of the electricity bill can be calculated. Climatic data is also taken into the consideration, uh, and architectural and engineering plans of the plants, the how it is constructed, it is whether it is well illuminated or not. Okay, so those things are also taken into the consideration. So then this, what is the status of their energy management plan? If some energy measures, saving measures are already being implemented, how good or bad positions in which they are, that is to be checked. So general information of the plants is also taken into consideration. For example, what is the year of construction, what is the ownership status, whether some renovations are carried out after the beginning or not. Okay, so these things are to be taken. What are the operating hours, whether it is operating in single shift or multiple shifts, 3 shifts, and what is the weekly off, what are the national holidays, what are the scheduled shutdowns, or scheduled and also in scheduled, that can be due to any strike, that also be taken into the consideration for the better results. So next is the preliminary analysis. So in the preliminary analysis, the flow chart of the energy flow is firstly constructed. So this is based on the same, again, the energy flows. So see what is the, it can be the one example of a textile dyeing plant is shown here. So here it is shown the compressed air, water, steam. So since this compressed air is also flown through the proper channels or pipelines, so some electricity is used, again water is pumped, steam is pumped, and what is the temperature of the steam, so how far it is heated. So all these things considered, because all these are directly related to the energy consumption. What is the raw material which is used in the dyeing house? What is the waste material water? Whether the waste water is also having the significant temperature or not? If it is having the significant temperature, is it being reused or recycled? What we are doing with these condensate release? All these things are taken into the consideration for the preliminary analysis. Now is the analyzing the energy bills. So the energy bills are with us. So what we are going to do with it is also important. So first of all, the how these energy bills, what they are giving to us. Is it, first of all, if we are talking about the electricity bills, it is calculated mostly on the kilowatt hour basis. Next is also the demand charge per kilowatt. Okay, so what is the demand charge? That it is based on the highest or the peak electricity use each month. That how much we have used those electricity when the demand was high. Okay, although this component is very small. So next is the also the in our electricity bills, the contract demand component is also mentioned. For example, if you have purchased a new house, okay, so you have, when you are taking the electricity connection, you have to pre-declare that what is the load, estimated load you want. For example, if a multi-story 2 BHK house is there, and three-phase connection is there, which phase connection is also, that also matters. So if, for example, declaration is that 6 kilowatt is the load, this is the contract load that we will use, the load which is 6 kilowatt or less than this 6 kilowatt. Okay, so that factor is also taken while calculating the tariffs, and that is also mentioned in the electricity bill. Reactive power, so this reactive power, which means that if we are using the, it is more concerned with the industrial loads. For example, if we are having the more inductive load, so inductive load will consume more current for the same power application. Okay, because current is lagging here. Okay, that is due to the more usage of electric motors. So some penalty is charged or some extra payment is to be done to the government. So next is the calculation of the load factor. This is the ratio load factor percentage. It is less than 100%. It is the ratio of the energy used during the period kilowatt hour which is used, and upon the multiplication of maximum demand and time under consideration. Okay, so uh, the plant load factor is also the consideration in generating plants also. Okay, so this is the ratio. This formula is important. Okay, more is the load factor percentage, more good it is. Okay, so next is the natural gas bills. Okay, so here in our country we are more focused on the LPG and electricity bills, but in some European countries and also in Canada, the natural gas bills are to be taken into the consideration, because for cooking and domestic purpose and maintaining the temperature of the houses, this natural gas is used. For cooling ducts which is being provided, that reduces the temperature. Similarly, in these countries, Canada and European countries, they are having low temperature problem. In our country it is the high temperature problem. So similarly, these ducts are there in which the hot water or the hot steam is pumped. So when that is pumped, so the temperature of the room is comfortable. Okay, so these natural gas bills, how these are calculated and what are the components of these bill. So first is the days, similar to our electricity bills, that number of days which are covered, which is calculated from the reading date, and although it is on the monthly basis, but similar to our country also, these uh, reading dates can be plus minus 5 days. Okay, so it can be 35, it can be 28, 25, etc. Okay, so next is the contracted demand, again similar to our country, as I have given just example that 6 kilowatt for a 2 BHK. Similarly, they have to give the demand. It is the pre-negotiated maximum daily usage in meter cubes per day. Okay, so what, so same similar to our country. Next is the overrun. It is the gas volume which is taken on any day in excess to the contracted demand. Okay, for example, if we have contracted for 100 meter cube per day and we are using 105 meter cube per day, so this is the overrun. So next is the overrun charge. So this overrun charge is dependent upon the overrun which we have done. Next is the demand charge. Demand charge is the uh, that a fixed monthly charge. Okay, and independent of the actual usage. So the same component is in our electricity bills also. Next is the gas supply charge, what is the supply gas which is actually being total volume on a monthly basis, based on which the bills are calculated. And delivery charges are also there. Okay. So delivery charges, first is the whether you are uh, sanctioned or applied for the delivery charge, and second is the actual delivery which is being made. Okay. So these are the components which are discussed for the natural gas.